Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another Granite Media Meet the Selectmen Forum here at Milford Town Hall for Milford, New Hampshire. We have two wonderful candidates vying for an open seat this year as our Tim Finan is retiring from the Board of Selectmen, and his seat is now going to be open for two challengers. And tonight we have two wonderful choices for you to consider, and we're going to meet these people, and we're going to have a discussion about what the selectmen do, what are their ideas for the town, and what improvements or concerns that they have out and about for our town. I will always start off and say I tip my hat to anybody who wishes to run for public office in our town, because being part of the community is certainly a huge asset, and this is what we need. So to that end, we're going to meet our two candidates and dive into some topics with them, and we're glad to have you join us here for Granite Media. Our first candidate tonight is David Catanzano, and our second candidate is Gary Daniels. I'm going to introduce them, and I'm going to have them talk a little bit, and let's have a fun time. Let's have a great discussion, and let's learn a little bit about both of you and your ideas and positions in our town. So I will start with Gary, because I know you've been on the Board of Selectmen before. So if you can, with your introduction, if you want to maybe tell the people in town what actually is a selectman in our town, what is their role?
Okay. Well, thank you, Dave, and appreciate the opportunity to be here this evening. My name is Gary Daniels, and I'm running for election to the Board of Selectmen. Milford has been my hometown for over 55 years. I graduated from Milford High School, gained my higher education from New Hampshire colleges, and hold a degree in management information systems. I'm also a military veteran, having served 3 years actively with the U.S. Army, 3 years in the Army National Guard, and 5 years in the U.S. Army Reserve. Politically and locally, I served 21 years on this Board of Selectmen, 6 years on the Milford School Board, and 60 years as a Milford School District moderator. At the state level, I'm serving my 10th term in the House of Representatives, having served on the Labor Committee and now on the House Finance Committee. In addition, I was elected to the State Senate for 6 years, where I served for 2 terms as a Senate Finance Chair, while also serving on the Capital Budget and Ways and Means Committee. If re-elected to the Select Board, I would bring a well-rounded, extensive leadership and legislative experience and a solid 35-year record of honesty, integrity, and commitment to the board, and that would be beneficial as the board faces the challenges of the next few years. So people ask me, well, why are you running? Well, as Milford grows, we're challenged to maintain those aspects of the town that led us to make Milford our home. The next board is going to be faced with a number of questions. Among them, how can growth be controlled in a way that preserves individual rights and freedoms? How do we balance the cost of services with the ability of the taxpayers to support those? And in what ways can we bring property tax relief to taxpayers, and how do we initiate them? These are all issues the next Board of Selectmen must address. And while they're challenging, they're not insurmountable. Continued support from voters over the years has made it possible for me to serve in various capacities at the state, county, and local level. And I've been able to put that experience to use and approach the duties of a selectman with a thorough knowledge of the different levels of government, creating opportunities to blend town, school, county, and state together into a government that works effectively and efficiently for the people. For example, in the past, I worked with Executive Councilor Dave Wheeler to acquire $300,000 in grants to dredge Osgood Pond. I brought to the board a suggestion on a program called WEX that allowed the town to buy gasoline for their vehicles, either locally or from the state, whichever one was least expensive. That saved thousands of dollars. We succeeded in acquiring funding for a new district court, where the motor vehicle division is in Milford, and have it staffed full-time. I worked with the Milford DMV to keep it in Milford when they wanted to send it to Nashua as they built the court. I was able to hook them up with the owner of the old police station we had in town, and they became his first customer. And once the court was built, the DMV moved back over there. That saved Milford residents the cost of having to go to Nashua to register their vehicle. And then finally, I opposed the Kinder Morgan pipeline from a few years ago in the eminent domain, taking of private property that it proposed. But we still have a lot of work to do. As a board, we need to find alternatives to the status quo operations that keep our taxes down. We need to monitor our debt service to make sure that our debt is not passed on to the next generation. We need to also enhance transparency with the public. Throughout my years of public service, I have been a consistent conservative voice. I've opposed excessive government growth, and I strive to make our government work for the people according to the intent of our founding fathers. As I continue to seek creative solutions to the challenges before us, I would bring to the board extensive knowledge of and experience at the multi-levels of government, a benefit that would greatly enhance the board. On March 11th, you'll have the opportunity to choose your next selectman. It would be my honor to serve again as one of your selectmen. I therefore encourage you to exercise your right to vote on March 11th. I thank you for your past support and remain available to assist you in any matter possible. Thank you.
Thank you. David?
Yeah, so Gary, thanks for that. I'm going to be much shorter than that. I live in the private sector. My claim to fame in politics is a member of the board up in Washington, New Hampshire, to help a community, run a fiscally responsible budget to where we didn't pass on undue money to the homeowners. We kept the expenses extremely low on purpose because we took a lot of time with a lot of effort from myself managing the budget, negotiating contracts, ensuring that we spend the money in the right spots. The reason why I want to get involved and have run for selectman in the town of Milford before, by the way, I've been here for 7 years. Prior to this, I lived in Milford, New Hampshire for almost Merrimack, New Hampshire for almost 30 years. Was fortunate enough to buy a very nice house up on Panema Hill Road. And we love the town. It's a nice little country feel my wife and I always talk about, but we're 5 minutes away from crazy either way we go, so we love it here. I feel like it's important for me to get involved with my extensive financial background and understanding how budgets work, expenditures work, and every 6 months I get that tax bill in the mail, and I look at it and I say, okay, why are our taxes going up? Extensively. I want answers. I think all of us deserve answers and why we keep tacking on money. Transparency, availability of whether it's a selectman or a town manager or whomever it is who can answer the questions is super important, and that's what I offer. And the businesses that I have run and that I run currently, I spend the time to work with boards, vice presidents, senior vice presidents, as well as the newest person hired to discuss financial wherewithal and what we're doing with the company and how we look to improve it and bring the benefits to the team, whether that's through paybacks and bonuses or whatnot. I think that same mindset is important. Again, very impressive in all the things that you've accomplished and done. I don't have that impressive background in politics. I serve in the private sector. I want to make that super clear. I would bring a different mindset. I would bring a mindset of your neighbor. Literally your neighbor who goes to work every single day and gets that bill in the mail. I want to help reduce that in any way that I can. I do have extensive background in own businesses in construction, understand how all of the ins and outs work of contract negotiation, invoicing, what to pay, what not to pay, how to set structure around the importance of getting something done. Everybody wants to do everything at once. I create an ABC list, and in that ABC list we have a 1, 2, and 3. We work those programs, take feedback from the people that we work with. In this case, it would be the folks of Milford, and what they think is important, it should be considered. Some people think a parking lot is important. Okay, some people think potholes are important. Okay, some people think a new fire apparatus is important, or a new police vehicle is important, or hiring folks to man those pieces of equipment or whatnot. Super important. We just need to do it responsibly so that we're not burdening the people that live in this town. And one thing I was thinking about, which is, I don't know if a lot of people think the way I do, but for those folks who work their butt off to buy a house, they should not have to pay. The equivalent of their taxes should not equal the mortgage. And let me say what I mean by that. If their mortgage is $1,500 for the principal, they should not have to pay $1,500 in taxes. Doesn't make sense. If their house is paid off, you feel like you can never own it because you're always paying a large amount of money for property taxes. I don't think that's right. I'd like to work in this town to help the folks realize that they can live by be a good member of this town and know that they can own their house. I say own their house because if you don't pay your taxes, you don't, right? And I'd like to see us own our houses. More to it than that, I'd like to get the questions and answers, but if I have the opportunity to serve, I will make sure that I'm available to sit and have those questions and answer sessions with the town folk of Milford.
Excellent. Okay, well, let me do, great openings from both of you. Let me do this. I'm going to do a ESPN 60-second thing with you about selectmen, and then I'm going to go back and forth. So how long is this term?
3 years.
A 3-year term. When do the selectmen meet? How often?
They meet every other Monday night, the second and the fourth Monday of the month. And if there is a fifth Monday of the month, they have what they call a fifth Monday forum, where residents can come in and talk about any issue that they want to. There is no agenda.
And how many members are on this Board of Selectmen?
5.
And in a nutshell, what is basically their focus?
They are the oversight board to make sure that things in town are getting done. We have a town administrator. That is our employee. We hire the town administrator. And our job is to make sure that the town is run efficiently and effectively. I mean, we're to listen to our departments and their needs. Often the needs exceed the money that we have. And so at that point in time, it really is incumbent upon the board to find creative ways to make things happen and get things done, and maybe not have all the money that we wish we had.
And speaking of money, is it a paid position?
You get $2,500 a year.
So it's like a coach's salary.
Unless you're the chair, then it's $3,000 a year.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's what you want to fight for. Okay. So, is there anything else on the Board of Selectmen that you would add about what the role is and what they do?
No, I think the budgeting is certainly the big thing, and I think Dave mentioned that we have a lot of money coming before us on March 11th, because the town budget is up 5.7%.
Is it roughly about 20 million this year?
5.7%, I believe. It's a little over 20 million.
And then the school budget?
Default budget is 2.5% up. The school budget, it's kind of weird because the default budget on the school is 6.3%, and the operating budget that the school is bringing in is probably somewhere around 5.4%, but that's on $47 million.
But it's about, I was going to say it's $47 million. All right.
So that either way that you vote on that, it's going to be over $50 million, which it comes down to we're paying about over $25,000 per student for the school.
And actually, if you add them both together, you're at around $67 million in terms of a town budget. And we have about 10,000 voting members in our town. All right, so let me come back to you, David.
Sure.
You're in the private sector.
I am.
And you were saying earlier how your vision is different than a political or politician's view because you've been in the private sector. So what strengths do you think you'd be bringing into the selectman's position then, utilizing some of your private sector strengths that you were earlier talking about?
Sure, and don't take no disrespect to anybody. I bring honesty, loyalty, transparency. to anything that I put my fingers on. I bring a mindset of, less is more. Streamline what we are looking at. A lot of people believe the more you have, the more people you have, the more you can get done. It's not true. If you have the mindset of we can get it done, we can get it done. So as we talk about budgeting and what monies we're bringing in and what monies we're putting out, the mindset would be is let's look at that. Let's cut 10% off that. Let's cut 20% off that. Can't do it. You can do it. That's my mindset. I have a tradition, and a lot of people say, how do you do it? I build teams, big teams that work together to get things done. And there's usually not a lot of, in quote, pushback. There's a lot of conversation. There's a lot of collaboration. And it works and just to be clear, right now I'm overseeing a $100 million company. And that $100 million company is running better than it's ever have run in the past. We're flush with cash. Prior to me getting there, they weren't flush with cash. They were $7 million in the hole. And it's just a matter of taking a look at what you're spending and do you need to spend it in the way that you think you do, or those folks thought they needed to spend it, and not the case. It's just a matter of spreading it out, taking a look at what's important to take care of, and moving on from that, and then get the next item and the next item. I heard there's a lot to do, it sounds like, and again, I said it earlier, a lot of people see that and just want to get it done. Let's go get all we can to get it done now. That is tough on the folks. The folks out there, I know myself included, we're the economy's not the greatest. A lot of people aren't doing the greatest. They can't afford to keep putting money out of their checking account. Folks that I know have moved into town never thought Milford would have this high tax base. And if you gave me my number one, if you said, what's your number one? That's my number one. My number one is to help the folks that have moved into town to realize this is a really good town and we can make it affordable to live here. That's my expertise, is thinking that way, thinking outside the box and building teams to think in the same way.
And so part of these teams, as Mr. Daniels said, you have one employee, the town administrator. How would you work in that capacity?
Sure. I mean, so you say you have one employee, but you don't. You have a partner. He sits at the table. He has a seat at the table. So yeah, he would answer into the things that are put on the table and need to get done. We give the list of what things need to be done, correct? He does those things, but he's still a partner in those things because he has to get them done. He's going to say what's difficult, what's not difficult, what's easy to get done. We're going to get those things done together.
And you would focus a little bit strongly on property taxes, is that?
That would be my main focus, of course. There's other focuses. Obviously the community is super important, making sure that our infrastructure is where it needs to be. Our first responders are well taken care of with all the equipment that they needed in the budget. If we need to focus there, we do.
Okay,
We do. We do. And
let me shift to Mr. Daniels. So property taxes, a major concern of yours. Where would you fall that? Where would that fall under your vision?
That's probably my number one as well.
Okay. And you would both agree that you're both conservative, it sounds like, in terms of cutting down.
Fiscally conservative.
Fiscally conservative,
yes.
Okay. And in your view, is there ways we can be fiscally conservative in our town?
I think there are opportunities to be able to work with the school and see if we can combine some of the services. And the board has had to prioritize things. A good example is 127 Elm Street, the old Permitage building. Yeah. We bought that years ago, but it has never risen to the level of, say, taking care of the streets to make sure that the potholes are filled, that the roads are plowed, things like that. So.
Well, speaking of potholes and rolls, though, there's a $200,000 budget for paving, and then another $300,000 warrant article to pave some more down there.
Right.
Are you both in favor of keeping the building and paving down there? Or are you in favor of maybe demolishing the building? I know that's always a topic in our town of what exactly to do with 127. Thoughts on that? And David, I'll have follow up after Gary.
My thought was when we bought the building, that it should have been taken a look at and saying, okay, this building is suitable for these activities. But what seems to have happened is that they took a look at it and said, oh, this doesn't fit the activity that we would like, and so we should tear that down and build another $17 million building closer to the pool. So I'm still of the opinion, and you hear varied opinions on it, but my understanding is that the overall structure of that building is still good, the bones of it. And yes, it does need a lot of work, but I think it could still serve purposes. But again, I think we're at a point where it was bought for recreation. When we look at the core function of government, recreation is not one of those core functions. You know, the emergency services, DPW, things like that. And so it has had to take a back seat to stuff. But I also recognize that the longer it sets, it's not doing it any good too.
Okay. Thoughts on 127 Elm,
Yeah,
Dave?
my simple response is, what does the community want? What does the town of Milford want? What do the folks want? So I could want a nice rec center to go in there. I could want to pave the road, but what do they want?
So would you?
That's the most important thing to me. I would have roundtables with members of the community and ask what they want. It's their money. I want an ice skating rink where everybody can come play hockey, but that may not be what everybody else wants. So I would want to hear what they would want before I would start more than opining on what we should do. Of course, safety is the utmost importance. If the roads are in terrible shape, I'd like to see the roads taken care of. However, I still would want to hear what the folks of Milford have to say.
Okay, well, and currently though, on the ballot, there's going to be about a $500,000 request for paving. Would you support the paving of the area, regardless of what we do to the building? Either one of you, if you want. I'll let you. Yeah, go ahead.
Thanks. I have to hear what the town wants to do, because sure, I could want the roads paved so my truck drives nice and smooth over those. That may not be what the town wants, meaning the folks who actually pay the taxes. I want to hear what they want to do.
Okay.
I'm not trying to the folks at home and the folks at this table and the audience, I'm not trying to be wishy-washy. I really do work that way, where I want to hear your input and what you believe and what you want, so I can take that into consideration as I'm making those decisions. These are not decisions that I would want to make on my own.
Okay. All right.
I think the town has already spoken on a number of things, because the program that's in place right now, we used to start out with about $300,000 in the budget, and then we would put another $300,000 out there for paving as a separate warrant article. Well, 2 or 3 years ago, we started recognizing you really need about $1 million a year to take care of the roads strategically. So what they've done for the last couple of years is that they have put another $100,000 into the budget and lowered the warrant article by $100,000, so that you're gradually building the thing up. So it has been strategic, and I mean, that's the one area that we really haven't heard any kind of opposition from residents on.
Okay.
If I may,
Yeah,
if
please.
the money is saved in a savings account somewhere, then we use that money if that's what it's strategically been then placed there for. If the money's not there and we have to go get more money, that's where I come in and say, I want to hear what the residents have to say. I don't want to just go take more money, just go, yep, we're going to get that done, and somebody opens an envelope and goes, oh, it happened again.
Okay. Earlier you were talking about our EMTs and so on. Like, currently we're looking to add 3 full-time firefighters, which would make Milford a full-time fire service. Thoughts?
100%. Nothing's more important than our first responders for the folks they need to feel safe. Like, I need to feel safe, i.e. the rest of the town needs to feel safe. And if that means we have a full-time fire station, we have full-time police force, right? Why wouldn't we have a full-time fire force? Firemen, firehouse.
I hear you.
Right?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't we? I'm in favor.
Okay.
Yeah, over the past few years, they have added full-time firefighters to the department. I think overall there is a shortage of workers. You know, we're short in DPW, we're short at the fire department. There is a program, the volunteer program, that they've accepted money from believe it was the state, and to try to recruit, a volunteer department. And, I would like to see us get back there, but I think that's challenging because of the shortage of workers. It isn't unique to town government. It's unique to just about everybody out there. And so the problem is, if you're working at a regular job, it used to be that you could be given time off to go and fight a fire. Well, now the business can't afford to let you go so it's something it's ongoing. As much as possible, I would like to try to keep us as a volunteer department, but I understand that there are times where we need to make sure that we have the coverage.
Okay. Go ahead, please. Yeah.
A good point that Gary had brought up with the DPW and shortages of folks, and again, private sector, there is a shortage of workers out there. One thing that I've been able to do with the team, is the teams that I've been able to work with and grow, is I don't have a labor shortage. And the reason why I don't have a labor shortage is because how we treat the folks that come work for us. We have a stringent training program they go through. Again, transparency, honesty, loyalty, all those good things are brought along. I went down to DPW to talk to them about my mailbox, because with all the snow, I'm sure many people have had their mailboxes knocked off. And the gentleman said, "Would you like to plow for us?" I have experience in plowing. I own my own plowing company. And I said, "Sure, I'll plow. You got a 3/4 ton?" He says, "No, we plow with the big rigs, and you need a special license for that." I said, "Do you have a training program?" And he said, "No." I think as a town, if we want to supply folks and we want people to come work in the town of Milford, I think that's something worth looking into, is building a training program to where we can invest in some people that will come to Milford and want to work in Milford because they know they're going to get trained. They're not going to have to go up to Concord or another totally off the grid program. They can come here, they can train here, and they can work here.
Well, yeah, fantastic.
Just to add on to that, because I think one of the other things to go along with that we need is some sort of succession program, so that people are trained. So, because if people leave, you don't want to have a vacant position. So you've got somebody that can step into that position, and that's something that's been mentioned, and I believe that they're working on some of it, but maybe not to the extent that.
Would that just be a DPW issue, or?
No, that's the whole town.
Yeah, that's a great point. And how you do that is you don't just mention it. You have to be, your leaders have to be ingrained of who is my number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You can never have 1 or 2 people leave and you can't, the place won't function because of that. And how you do that is getting folks involved. I always tell my teams that the difference between a manager and a new tech is exposure, training, learning, understanding, right? If you expose them to the entire process, they will then learn and want to grow. If you listen, they will learn and want to grow. If you train, they have the knowledge. They'll want to stay. They'll want to grow with the town. I say town because this is what we're talking about now. But again, growing leaders is something I'm also super passionate about in the private sector. And heck, I'd be happy to fire up a program like that for the town of Milford, where there is that succession plan for folks to move up and through the system. One other thing that I will tell you about towns, and I have family members that work in towns. This is the succession plan. You got to retire for somebody to move into that role, or you've got to, I don't want to say fired, but you get fired for somebody to move into that role. It shouldn't work like that.
Okay, and so under the idea of a succession plan is there would be somebody waiting in the wings
100%.
just to move into that next position.
Not just to, looking forward to.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. That's their career. That's what they're passionate about. That's what they want to do. And to have somebody head a program like that, it doesn't take a lot of money to build a program for somebody who already knows the ins and outs of the role to teach somebody else.
Fantastic. Another topic in our town is the thought of going from a 2-acre zoning to a 1-acre zoning for housing. Thoughts on that? Gary, if you want to start off.
I think that should be an option for people. I would support going to 1 acre. I mean, I have to say that the 2 acre zoning, it's sort of like Swiss cheese. I mean, I had a third of an acre next to me, but because there was a streamlined trailer on there back in the 60s, it was deemed a lot of record and a house could be built on a third of an acre. So, and we only need to take a look at the corner of Union Street and Osgood Road, where they put 2 houses in there. So the whole 2 acre thing is more of a fantasy, fallacy type thing, unless you're wide open space. And I think that going to 1 acre zoning or allowing more ADUs, things like that, it gives an opportunity for family members to take care of maybe their parents who could use a smaller place but need to be nearby. So I think that would be a good thing for the town.
Dave?
Yeah, same.
Okay, perfect. No,
I think the zoning of 2 acres does limit a lot of folks who want to move in. They got to purchase 2 acres in order to build on. A contractor would have to buy a nice big lot to put some more homes in. I think zoning it down to 1 acre would be the proper thing to do for the town.
And obviously, and that would go along with both your visions of trying to lower property taxes too, because you'd have more people coming in.
Yeah.
But also under that is, obviously community development and economic development, and people talk about the west side of Milford and so on like that. But do you have a vision of maybe trying to attract economic growth in our town? And I'll start over with Dave.
Yeah, so that was one of the things that I spoke about last time I was up for this. It seems like the tale of 2 sides of Milford. As soon as you ventured on the
East side.
thank you, of the Oval, you were a totally different town feel. And when you're on the opposite side, definitely homey community style. So my focus would be, look, and I don't want anybody to take this the wrong way, my focus would be to help beautify, if that's the right word to use here, the town of Milford, where you drive down the main roads and you don't see empty businesses. You don't see plywood or shuttered or for lack of a better word, stuff that shouldn't be there on the property should be in a trash heap. We help clean that up in whichever way we can, whether that's through volunteer services, not to tack more money on. But there's plenty of folks in town. I'm sure that if you said, hey, we're going to have a cleanup day here to help this person do this, I'm sure there would be people lined up for that. I also think that we should have a tax benefit for those who maybe have a hard time keeping their property clean. We help them clean their property, if that makes sense. I can think of a few homes that I would like to help them clean their properties to help the surrounding homes. I think that if somebody goes through somebody's property and there's a bunch of stuff there, they could potentially get hurt. I would think that would be a motivation as well.
So let's try to reduce like a blighted community look, if you would.
Yeah, look, I'm not the neatest, cleanest person. I'm not dirty either. That average person, and again, I think helping the entire community of Milford.
Yep. Lift everybody up, right?
Yep. And on the other side of that, I do believe in having conversations about bringing other businesses in. I had a good conversation with the owners of the new restaurant in town over here, the pub, and they've been in the restaurant business for 6 months. I've managed restaurants for 35 years, offered my services to them just to help them. To help keep their focus on what they should, and I can't wait to go back and have more conversations with them. There's plenty of storefronts over here that are open that we could bring in and help them negotiate fair rents to open those lights. Turn those lights on in those businesses. Help fund the community a little bit more.
Gary, what's your economic vision?
I think for some time we've been trying to attract business here, and I think overall we're doing a pretty good job. I mean, we see a huge expansion at Hitchener. Hendricks is expanding, or I guess it's Marmon Utilities now. But so I think anytime you can do that, number one, it creates more jobs in the community, so maybe people don't have to commute to Boston to do that, they can be closer to home. And I think, the Economic Development Advisory Committee, I think, has just about been filled, and they're supposed to be starting to meet at the end of March. So again, there's a group of about 15 people that from all walks of life in Milford that are going to be talking about economic development.
Is it harder, and just going out, and I know you're private business, so this is right up your alley, and Gary, you just have 55 years of being in town. Is it hard to have a brick and mortar now in 2025 in a town like Milford? I mean, we always want to say, let's attract as much business as we can, but are there actual realities of, it's just hard to have a brick and mortar in Milford?
You can't, Milford or?
No, Milford, yeah.
Right, so Milford, Nashua, Merrimack, any surrounding town, Derry, Londonderry. It's hard to have a brick and mortar to start a business if you are left to your own. If we want to attract businesses, smaller businesses, Hitchener's huge. They're going to expand because their business is growing. If we want to fill the small storefronts, we have to help those smaller folks come on in and start their businesses. I can think of many folks that would come in and start another little restaurant or start a little clothing shop if the community helps them and drives. So when I say help the community, how many people go to Lowe's and Home Depot to buy their hardware when they can go right here to the country store? I go to the country store. They have everything, or county store, sorry. They have everything I need, okay? I don't need to go. Support your local business, and that's what we should be touting in the town of Milford. That would help, more business come here knowing that the town of Milford purchases within the town of Milford to help grow these businesses or sustain the businesses.
And you've been around for 55 years, so you've seen ebbs and flows. What do you consider to be the challenges for these businesses?
I think it's correct that the brick and mortar places had more difficult to get going because it take a lot more money. But I mean, we're in an information age where people can start up
At home?
excuse me. They can start their internet businesses at home, and I think the COVID era did a lot of that because people weren't able to go into work, and they said, okay, I've got to do something. So a lot of small businesses started up. That I think in turn was one of the reasons why you have a little bit of a shortage on workers now, because before you had loads of people working. But I think it's you also have to find that niche. Obviously, what makes Milford are the people in the community, and I think when you see a business, and that's one of the things that they look for, is how tight knit is the community. Can I get support from there? I would agree. I would love to see all of the shops filled up, but there have been a number of that have gone in and tried, and they didn't necessarily work out, so they've gone somewhere else. But I think we're still a community that is attractive to people, and certainly when you look at some of the other communities around, I think we've got a lot to offer as far as our town. As far as the brick and mortar and the manufacturing, I think we're very, very fortunate to have Hitchener and Marmon around. Hitchener at one time was on the verge of going to Tennessee until we sat down and we worked out.
So as a selectman, and I'll go over to David as well, how do we make Milford an attractive place to come?
Activities, family activities. I think we're lucky that you can live anywhere in town and not have to go far to get pretty much any of the services you might be able to get in Nashua. But if you had to go to Nashua, it's only 12 miles away. So it really is an ideal area, and I think we have a lot to offer, and a lot of it starts right with the volunteers. We have so many volunteers, and it's not up to this board to do everything, and it is the volunteers that make the town.
And David, anything to make it Milford attractive for? bringing people in.
Yeah, like I said earlier, it was attractive to my wife and I because it felt like a slice of the country. But it is, again, for lack of a better term, it's 5 minutes away from crazy, if you want it. The highway's right around the corner. It is an attractive area to come to for the folks until they, and again, I'm going to go back to the property taxes, until they get that property tax bill, then it becomes just another town. We would want to make it attractive for not only the folks who want to come in and open the small brick and mortars or the large brick and mortars, we want to make it attractive for somebody to come in and raise a family and be able to, work hard, put money in the bank and save it and not worry about that tax bill continuing to increase, not every year or every 2 years, every 6 months. I think that is super important, and we can't lose sight of that. Now, there's another piece, again, my mind continues to go, especially thinking about this. When folks do come in and run brick and mortars, what does the town offer them? Do they offer them guidance on what has worked in the past? Of course, you can't tell somebody how to run their business, but you can offer a hand. You can offer a time to listen, a roundtable for the businesses in town. To sit and say what works, what doesn't work, how can we help better as a town to bring more competition in, because more competition, people go, oh no, not more competition. The 3 breakfast places or 4 breakfast places that we have in town, I can't get a seat. So you can't tell me bringing in another breakfast place is going to hurt those breakfast places. It's not. It's going to create more competition, and more people will come out for breakfast. Same thing with lunch, or same thing with the other little towns that are in there. I mean, heck, since Station 101 has opened, they just have absolutely crushed it over there in bringing the community down there and showing off their cars or showing off their motorcycles, and having folks like us, go down there and enjoy the times that we have there. Get to know the owner. I know the wait staff. Yeah, get to know the owner. He owns a green Camaro that I talked to him once, and he and I went back and forth about that. I couldn't believe it was an original, so we went back and forth. I own a '65 Chevelle I take down there once in a while. But to have those conversations with the business owners, and I was going to say something a little bit earlier. The residents that I hear from, that I have the opportunity to talk to, there's the disconnect. The availability of folks to talk to isn't what they would like. And one thing I would offer is I'll be right there for you. You send me an email, a text message, a phone call, or in person, I'll sit and talk to you all day long.
So explain that a little, like a disconnect between the residents and their
in their town government.
In their elected government. Okay.
There's no real back and forth when necessary, needed. And I mean, it doesn't help looking over here and seeing a lot of empty chairs. As I say that, I'm a person who wants to be involved. I'm a person who wants to, make sure that we're there to answer those questions, to lend a hand if needed, to help, put the idea of training programs out there to help the town people get involved with the town operations.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think that's where the transparency comes in. I mean, he's right that at any given school board meeting, selectmen meeting, you don't find many people come to those. So I think it's a challenge to the boards. How do you get people involved? And one of the ways that we did this years ago was to start that 5th Monday forum and saying, we have no agenda, but come in and talk to us about whatever you want. And sometimes you might have 10 people in here, and sometimes you might not have anybody.
But it was there.
But it was there. But even in voting, when you have 1,400 people show up to vote out of 10,000
on $60 million.
How do you know what people really want?
Right.
And so I think that's one of the challenges is to try to get more people involved with their town government, with their school government. I mean, there's a lot of money there, and it's really ironic that, when $60 million comes up and it's their property taxes, they don't show up to vote on them. But yet, when you're voting for president,
everybody's there.
Everybody's there.
It's a great point. When I was on the board up in Washington as a director, we had some of the same problems. You'd look out and you'd say, okay, well, everybody is, in quote, complaining. Where are they?
Yeah.
And again, they felt not heard, not listened to. I think that having that transparency, having that open door policy, if you will. Maybe we do have to have an open bar. Maybe we do have to bring something to them so the folks will come down, because this is their opportunity, and it shouldn't be every fifth week. Because how many fifth Mondays do you have in a month, along the course of a year?
Maybe 4 a year.
Maybe 4. That's 4 times I get to speak. That's not enough.
Yeah.
That's not enough for our community. There should be maybe a half an hour, depending on how many people show up, maybe an hour of our time taken up to answer those questions for the folks, so they feel like every single meeting they have a voice.
Well, don't they have public?
Every meeting they do have 2 public comment periods.
Yeah, 2 public
with the
comments.
school and the town.
Okay.
We had a woman come in here, and I think it was probably for three meetings regarding parking out on Amherst Street. And so, anyone who wants to speak to the board has the opportunity to come in and ask for an appointment with the board. And sometimes, there are a list of appointments that might go till 6:30, 7 o'clock at night. And other times, there may not be.
Yeah, I guess what my point is, and not to interrupt, my point is somehow, I'm a fun guy. I like to make things fun and entertaining. Maybe we're just too boring for them. Potentially, who knows? We have to find out. Again, it's one of those things. You'd have to get a group together and have a roundtable and say, how can we get the community? We only have 20 seats out there or less. How do we get this bigger? How do we get 50 people here? How do we get 100 people here, so that they can hear the goings on, the inner workings, and they can comment?
Well, actually, you might get them virtually.
Yeah, you can
Because
get
a
them.
lot of
Granite Town
people-
Media does a
Send
wonderful
a
job of
note.
doing that.
All the
note.
meetings are Zoom.
But I mean, at the end of the day, like you both said about the founding fathers, Madison would always say the government that affects you most is the government that's closest to you. And if, like you were saying earlier, you have 1,400 people voting on a $60 million budget, that's their taxes that are going to be impacting them directly versus a federal election, which obviously will impact them, but certainly the local election is what hits your pocket more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We talked earlier about getting people to come in. Last week, I was fortunate enough to be up at the high school and help host the robotics forum that Frank Zidius, the robotics teacher up there, was putting on. And I was amazed. He brought a number of past students that I had in class as well, that are now all engineers, and they're doing amazing. But they're doing amazing everywhere else except for Milford. Milford, without a doubt, especially with the Applied Technology Center, is such a little nugget, a gold mine, I believe. As an educator, I can honestly speak that you can do amazing things there. But then they all go away.
Sure.
So how do we hold what we produce? Is there any thoughts? And again, this is just a conversation. Thoughts on that?
Well, I've always felt that the education is kind of out of alignment. And we should be setting standards as to what we expect a graduate to know, and we do that by talking to the colleges and see what they expect them to know going into college. Because going back a few years, heard a lot about all the remedial courses that the kids had to take when they went to college. That was just extra money that parents had to pay to bring them up to speed so they could start. And likewise, the colleges should be talking to the businesses to know just what it is that the student should know when they're graduating from college to get out into the businesses. So I think we're doing some of that through some of the internships that are offered in the different businesses that we have here. But the reality of the situation is, I don't know that we offer the right set of courses in New Hampshire to keep them in. We give some of the best education in the country. But, when they graduate a school, then they head down in the Boston area and spend a few years down there until they start a family and decide that Boston really isn't the place to raise a family. So then they come back to New Hampshire, which leads to another problem, because then we need jobs for them here and houses to live in.
Yeah. Your thoughts on trying to retain?
You got to go back to what you were thinking when you were 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 years old going through school. Couldn't wait to get the hell out of the town you lived in.
Right.
Right? So good question is, how do you keep them here? Think about it in the private sector. When you hire somebody and you train them, you put them through all the programs they need, and you promote them up and through, i.e. you educate them. How do you keep them with you? You keep them with you by listening to them and making sure that it's whatever they're looking for is available. So you say engineers, if it's 20 engineers, 5 engineers, do we have a place here for them? Is Hitchner hiring engineers, and are they just turning their backs on that opportunity and going down to Boston because it's the in thing to do? Those are the questions you have to ask them. Heck, I knew when I was 18 years old, and I looked around and I said, I'm never leaving New Hampshire because I love the state. And my background has all been in business management, and wherever I managed a business just happened to be in Massachusetts, but I never moved out of New Hampshire, never will. People have different mindsets. People think differently. So going back to how do we keep our best and brightest, you got to make sure what they're looking for is offered. If it's not offered, then it doesn't matter how much you educate them or what you give them. If it's not offered, they got to go. They got to go somewhere and find that. So if you do speak to their guidance counselor, the guidance counselor says, hey, look, we found a role over here. That guidance counselor should be in tune with what's available in the town, in the area, in the close proximity of where they want to be, how we can keep our best and brightest, whether it's an engineer or somebody who's interested in business management, or whether it's somebody who's interested in construction or whatever blue collar field that they want to get into, or white collar field that they want to get into. That's how you keep folks, is make sure what they're looking for is available.
And not trying to open up a can of worms, obviously, but like earlier you had said, when I want to find out what's best for the community, I'll have breakout groups and blah, blah, blah. Would it be something feasible to maybe have some type of partnership or connection with the school and have that type of conversation?
Yeah, that was actually just what I was thinking about, because the Economic Development Advisory Committee is just getting going. They need to connect with the school, with the students, find out what it is that the students are looking for, and then they would know what businesses to go after to draw them to Milford.
Yeah, you could do something without having the advisory board get involved. You can simply put together a workshop of business leaders, folks who have run businesses before, folks who understand what they're looking for and have been. I'd never forget where I came from. I understand what they're thinking and what they're looking for. Sit down and talk to them, ask them those questions. If you're waiting for an advisory board to advise an 18, 19-year-old, 20-year-old what their future looks like, you can give them the option.
Well, the reason
I would sit down and give them the option and say, hey, what is it that you're truly looking for? What's your passion? And how do we as a community help you get there? And how can I help you? How can I be a mentor to you? That's what a lot of our folks are missing, young folks are missing today, is they're missing that mentorship, right?
Yeah.
They got a lot of people telling them what to do, and they got the phones, but how about somebody who can work with them and understand what they're looking for and help them along the way?
Yeah, and the reason I bring it up is because quite often we hear, well, there's the town and then there's the school, and that's two different, budgets, blah, blah, blah. But in reality, it's the same tax bill that goes to the townsperson. So if there was some type of connection, speaking of downtown improvement and so on, talks on, parking garages and parking lots and so on. Have you both had a chance to look at the downtown improvement plan and ideas and so on? Is there anything that you would recommend, or that you agree with strongly, or that you would like to change?
I don't know if they've changed it since I was on the board. But what they came up with was something that added additional parking up at the library that was not available before, and taking care of some of the safety aspects around the oval, as well as aesthetically. So, as far as I know, that's still underway, and maybe supposed to get started this year. So, but parking always has been and will be a problem, but I don't think anyone's advocating for a parking garage right now. We do have the lot up down South Street,
Yeah.
to where the gas station used to be. You just have to get the people, have the initiative
To walk that far.
I mean, that's really not that far. And again, I love it because it brings back memories of me being here saying that was a perfect spot for a mini garage, if you want. And they took down the small building. I think
Yeah.
6 months later, they took down the building. I'm like, great, we're going to have a local parking lot. It's really not that far. It's less than a tenth of a mile. You know, again, this is a congested little area, so you are going to have issues with parking until we figure out, you know, what to do. Maybe we build something small down there. I don't know that the library is a true option where that sits. Maybe the building is worth knocking down and building down the street there next to the pool. Knock that down. Put a parking area there. Kidding.
And they won't walk.
Right,
this
they
whole
won't walk
street.
this way. Well, I think that if it's available, so that was said in Nashua, New Hampshire as well, by the way, that if you put a parking garage behind City Hall, nobody will walk to Main Street. Now everybody parks there and walks to Main Street because they realize how convenient it is. They don't have to worry about parking their car on the side street and it getting hit or having difficulty getting in. So as the old adage goes, if you build it, they will come. If you build it, they will come. And how do we fund it? You know, further conversations to talk about that.
Yeah, and I think that those parking lots, I mean, we hit the one up on Garden Street, next to the police station. Again, it's too far to walk, but unless it's the Pumpkin Festival.
Right.
And then people will walk from the high school.
Again, if you build it, they will come.
Yeah.
It's all of what people will say at that moment in time until it's actually there. And they go, oh, no, I got to park in the parking garage. Oh, look, I get to park in the parking garage. That's the change in mindset once it's there. If it's not there, it doesn't make sense. If it's there, then it makes all the sense in the world.
Okay. I'm looking at the time, and is there other key topics that we haven't addressed that you want to address before I put you on the spot with some of my crossfire questions? Is there a topic or two, or is there any, I mean, we talked property taxes, I think, a little bit.
You nailed mine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Okay, well, let's see where we are in town then. And I'll go back and forth on you. All right. Favorite place to go for pizza, David?
So, my kitchen.
Okay, kitchen, perfect. Milano's, absolutely. Okay, favorite ice cream spot?
I love King Cone in Merrimack, New Hampshire, and I also love Hayward's Ice Cream Stand down here in Nashua, New Hampshire.
Ah,
Haywood's.
Haywood's. And item that you get at Haywood's?
Peppermint ice cream, come on.
Milky Our Way.
Milk. There you go.
I had the best peppermint ice cream since I was 14 years old.
Okay. Favorite event that you go to in Milford, David?
I gotta say is it the Spring Festival? And the Pumpkin Festival. We love them both. But just to walk down to the Oval is fun too.
I think the Pumpkin Festival is really it's a fun event, but I also like the veterans and the Memorial Day parades.
Okay. Finish the sentence for me. The thing I'm most proud about in Milford is?
That I live here.
Oh, it's pandering. Got to
That's
be a great politician.
That's the truth. That's the truth. I don't want to be a politician, but that's the truth.
And I was going to say that I'm a resident.
Oh, you guys, both of you too.
That's it. Let's go. Let's go, Gary.
And then one fast food restaurant that you wish Milford had.
I am so off of fast food, but I guess if I wish, Jersey Mike's.
Ah,
Golden Corral.
wow, you guys, you're killing it. It's great. Okay, and if you were king for a day, is there one improvement that you would want in Milford that you could do?
Yeah, I think addressing the parking around this area so more people could enjoy the downtown part. So, you know, maybe if I had sprinkle, boom, parking garage.
Okay.
I would requisition money trees.
There you go. Okay. Well, let's have a little bit of a closing if you'd like. And Gary, you did the intro first. So David, if you would like to do closing first, or would you like?
Yeah,
to
I'll again, super simple. I'm not long-winded and have a ton to say, but look, I'm running for selectman to help the town. And you know, listen to the folks and hopefully give back something to the community I have only been part of for 7 years, but hopefully will be part of until, you know, they wheel me off to see the real king. You know, I bring a level of business structure that I think can be very valuable to the town. I think my behaviors in listening to the folks and, again, not pandering, but they need to feel heard. They need to feel like if they do show up at a meeting, they're heard. If they see one of us on the street, they can come up and talk to us. You can talk to me. If I have the words that can help them, I will. If I can bring it back to the table, I will. If I can help in any way, negotiate a contract or bring a training program into Milford to where we attract more folks into Milford, 100%. I think a mentorship program for the high school outside of the government, maybe business folks, would be super helpful. Those are things that I would work on and initiate at the table and see where it goes.
Thank you. Gary?
Yeah, thank you. For the next few years, selectmen are going to be challenged on how to find ways to provide the needed services we need in town, and balancing that with the ability of the taxpayers to support those services. With the experience that I have, one of the things that I have learned is that times of hardship also create times of opportunity. And so, I look forward to the opportunity to create policies that will make Milford economically stronger, more cohesive, and financially less burdensome on the Milford taxpayers. So in my years of public service, I've met a number of people. I've been happy to listen to them, work with them, and see if we can't find solutions together. I never purported that I had all the answers to all of them, but I've always contended that working together we can find those answers. So once again, I present myself as a candidate for the Board of Selectmen, someone who could benefit the board with my experience, and I'd be honored to serve, to continue to serve on that board, and I just ask people to get out and vote on March 11th.
Fantastic. And those meetings are right here in this boardroom here. So here's the deal. March 11th at the high school from 6 in the morning to 8 o'clock at night. It's a Tuesday. We have the longest voting hours in the state of New Hampshire. We have about 10,000 registered voters, and as Mr. Daniels alluded earlier, we have a very few amount of people that actually show up on our town elections. This would be a great opportunity for people to get out and be part of the community because, as we alluded to earlier as well, you're looking at about a $60 million tax bill that's going to be coming your way. And this gives you opportunity to get out and have your voice heard. There's no greater opportunity in our small town for you to be part of it, and being part of it in an active citizen way is to be able to cast a vote. There'll be a number of warrant articles, there'll be a number of topics that you'll be able to pick and choose. You don't have to answer every question, it's not a test. Whatever is important to you is what you're able to focus on. If you're not a registered voter, it's very easy to be registered. You can go to town hall with a driver's license, a piece of mail with your address on it. If you have your birth certificate, that's also a huge help as well. But we also have same-day registration here in New Hampshire as well. So even if you're not registered and you still would like to be part of the democratic process, you could show up at the high school with the same documents that I just alluded to, a license, piece of mail, birth certificate, and you'd be able to register within 5 minutes and be part of the democratic process. I give great props to anybody who wants to be involved in our town, in our form of government. It's going to be a great opportunity for you to meet these people even on election day. So please take part of it. And they're willing to come out tonight to get you to know them better. And we appreciate both of your great comments and your great discussion. We wish you both the best on March 11th. So thank you, and thank you from Granite Town Media. Take care.